always a counseling competition to see who's the last one.
I no longer have that position.
Well, technically, I don't get off from work until
Right.
7.
It's not official. All right, I'm going to call the Hermiston City Council and Urban Renewal Agency to order with the declaration of a quorum, all members present. No changes to the agenda. No. Okay. Please join me in the flag salute.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Durant family, you can come up here and sit with your mom if you like. Come on, the seats up front. Don't be shy. So welcome this evening, everybody. We're first joined this evening by the Hermiston School District with some school district updates from Athletics and Activities Director, Larry Usher. Welcome, Mr. Usher.
Thank you, Dr. Drossman. Appreciate that. And happy holidays to everybody. Hopefully, everybody had a good Thanksgiving. Appreciate the opportunity to come in here and speak with you this evening. I know when Dr. Mooney asked me to come in and speak with the City Council, I really enjoy the opportunity to do that. And hopefully answer a lot of questions you might have, especially about athletics. If I had any answers, I would definitely let you know. So some updates for you. So we are preparing to return to limited in-person instruction under the state's guidelines, hopefully when we get back from holiday break, and provided that we can see a little bit of a downturn in our COVID numbers in our region. We would like to see our kids come back, beginning with our SPED and ELL students that we did have in limited in-person instruction previously. And every administrator at the building level has been instructed to plan for expanded limited in-person instruction, hopefully a few weeks after those students do come back. We have heard possibly the state being a little more eager to bring some students back in starting in the month of February, so we hope that is the case. But we'll see if that does apply to us after each year, and we'll find out, I'm sure. Bond project updates. Softball fields, obviously there are projects that are moving dirt right now. They're still on schedule. They did have some hiccups with some dirt, but they're on schedule now, scheduled to be done in May. So we would get the opportunity to play slow pitch softball next fall on our new softball field. So that would be pretty exciting for us. I know very exciting for our kids and coaches. Elementary schools are still scheduled to start breaking ground this April. In the springtime, and be done by summer of 2022. So that fall, hopefully we can get some students in our new elementary schools as well. Some athletics for you. Hopefully, we're hoping the same thing with limited in-person instruction. We're hoping to get our kids back into the gyms and on the fields and the weight room when we get back from winter break. Up until our state's pause, we were servicing about anywhere between 450 and 500 athletes every day that were cycling through the weight room through about 7 or 8 sessions a day. All of our sports were practicing every day. Our latest update from the WIAA, which is different than what we've been getting from the OSAA, is still planning a February 1st start date. But put that in pencil, their executive board meets on Wednesday. So there may be some changes to that. You may have seen in the news where the OSAA has decided to move their season back to starting February 22nd, and they've swapped some seasons around, basically taking some of our high-risk sports and moving into the springtime, which I think is a really good idea. The only problem is with the WIAA is they've already made a commitment not to push sports to the end of June like they originally had planned. I think they had figured that we would lose a lot of athletes, especially in our team sports, baseball, softball, for example. Don't know what would happen when graduation rolls around and some of our seniors decide it's time to go look for a job and move on and prepare for college instead of continuing to play right field or be a backup catcher or whatever it may be. So the WIA has already made a commitment that our sports are going to end basically a week after graduation, or June 13th, I think is the date. So pushing us back to the end of February, like the OSAA is doing, would only further shorten our seasons, which are 7 weeks now with practice preparation and postseason. So I don't think they can make them any smaller. Any changes that I would anticipate would possibly be to move fall sports to that first season beginning February 1st, simply because we have so many fall sports that are low risk, where those winter sports are all indoor sports, and those are going to be our high risk sports that are going to be difficult to get in to begin with. So if there's going to be any changes, that's kind of what we anticipate, but we will find out on Wednesday, and I'm sure we'll get something out on social media if there's going to be some changes for our athletic program other than starting February 1st. So that's what I got for you for an update. What questions do you guys have for me possibly? Yes.
Okay, so between Oregon and Washington, then who gets the final say?
It's interesting. I don't know if I have an opportunity to come here and speak since we've been on COVID shutdown, but so what I have to do in my position as the district athletic director is I have to take a look at the guidelines from the Washington Health Authority, Governor Inslee, and the WIAA, and OSPI, which is the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction. That's their state superintendent's office for education, and the Oregon Health Authority, and Kate Brown, and the OSAA. The WIAA has said what we do as far as COVID guidelines are concerned is we have to follow the guidelines of the Oregon Health Authority in the state of Oregon. But at the same time, we have to follow the guidelines of the WIAA. A good example would be during the recent shutdown, or basically since about mid-fall, and all the sports were able to start practicing again. Well, all the sports in the state of Oregon were able to start practicing and play contests. They weren't official contests, weren't official OSAA contests, but Pendleton, Hermiston were able to just schedule a couple of baseball games if we want kids to play, at least in the low-risk sports. Where in the WIAA, we were allowed to practice, but we weren't allowed to schedule contests. Quite honestly, I probably could have pushed that and said, well, we have to follow the state of Oregon's guidelines, but that wouldn't have been fair play for our conference because our conference isn't allowed to do that. So I kind of have to weigh what's best for our kids and what's going on with the guidelines I have to follow from the 8 different organizations that we've got to take a look at all the time. It's a good question.
Thank you.
Mr. Director, will there be some sort of championship play this year, or is it just going to be like interleague play, just kind of getting games in? Have they looked at that?
They've looked at it, yes. That's a complicated issue for us right now. Both the WIAA and the OSAA are both still continuing to push to have some sort of culminating event, right? To have a postseason. As it is right now, every sport that we have scheduled, or all 3 seasons that we have scheduled, they've scheduled in 1 week of a postseason culminating event. The WIA has already announced that whatever culminating event we do have, it will be regionalized. They've placed us in what they call Region C. They have 3 regions in the state of Washington. It's basically going to be the Northwest, the Southwest, and all of Eastern Washington is going to be the 3rd region. So that basically consists of us and the 8 schools in Spokane. So it's going to be the 3A schools in our conference, and the 8 3A schools in the Spokane area would be our only region. So a culminating event would simply be a district tournament for us, where at different classifications with a lot of other schools in Eastern Washington, they would get a culminating event. As a league, and we meet on Wednesday again after the executive board meeting from the WIAA, as a league, we plan to petition the WIAA to eliminate us from any of their culminating event discussions because it doesn't involve anybody but us in Spokane, and we both agree, because we just want an opportunity for our kids to get participation. So I get asked the question, well, if you're only looking at a 5-week season of playing sports for each season now, why are they still wanting to hold a week for postseason event? It's because of revenue. That's where the state associations need to gather their revenue from, is attendance at those state events. Well, we completely understand that and we sympathize with that as a conference. We feel like the most important thing for us is just to get an opportunity for our kids to get some participation.
What's the likelihood that there's going to be any attendance allowance anyway?
Exactly.
So we'll have a Pac-12 type championship event this year.
Yeah.
3 and 2 team plays in the Pac-12.
Yeah, exactly. And our conference has looked at we're the only only team in our conference with all the Tri-City schools in Walla Walla that regularly live stream all of our events. Obviously, Hermiston TV, our video productions class, and Micah Mercer at the high school, they do a really good job of live streaming almost all of our athletic events, and of course, elementary Christmas concerts and all those things get live streamed as well. Nobody else in our conference does that. So they're looking at actually getting a contract from National Federation of High Schools to live stream events. So our parents, if they wouldn't be able to attend away games, they would at least be able to watch them online now, like they would the home games already.
There you go. It sounds like a potential revenue stream for Hermiston High School.
It would be for them, but I already told our league that, we were kind of the oddball on that one. I said, no, absolutely not. We can't do it because we're not going to charge our community to watch our kids play online when they already used to do it for free.
Other questions? Mr. Usher? Yeah.
I understand that the drama has a play this weekend, is that correct?
Yeah, they do, yes.
What time does it start?
I have to look on the website and find out. I want to think it's like at 7 in the evening, maybe, that they're going to do that. It's pretty exciting that how they're going to basically do, and I don't know if you guys had an opportunity to see the video that was posted online of our choir. Our choir actually combined with the high school choir from Milton Freewater, and they did, I guess, what the kids call a mashup, where every student actually sang from their own home or their bedroom or wherever it might have been, and then the instructors put it all together. Well, that's basically what the drama event is going to be, is that they're going to be playing their part from their own location. Yeah, should be fun.
So another question is, how are the kids doing this year? I know the last year there were some concerns that not all of them were connected. How are we handling it this year? Are we doing okay?
I know that all of our teachers and administrators are doing an incredible job and working as hard as they can. I just heard Roy say it's been a long day today, probably a long day for him in the classroom and teaching online. But I'll be honest with you, Rod, our kids are struggling. They are. This is new to everybody. One of the things that we really struggle with as district leadership, and I know teachers probably struggle with as well, is in education we spent decades telling all of our teachers how important it is that we build relationships with kids and that we do everything we can to create active engagement in our classrooms. And now we're looking at that saying, well, we have other things that are way more important than what we've been spending decades working on. Those relationships with our kids are really, really important. Having several students in our district, in our community, especially at the elementary school level, have that personal connection with a positive adult in their life is really important, and that's not happening right now. And so I worry about our kids. I worry about our kids on a daily basis. That's why it's important that we have like the programs with our SROs, and I know that Chief Hermiston has helped support that as well, that they get to go out and make home visits. We send staff members with them to make home visits, to give prizes and rewards for kids and recognize kids. We do everything we can to keep those kids as engaged as we can, as connected to school as we can, without actually being there. Not easy to do.
Thank you.
And has there been a conversation about graduation this year and what sort of allowances or flexibility they're going to be providing for our graduating seniors in the class that's coming forward?
I would suspect if graduation would be taking place under our current circumstances, that it would be similar to what it was last year. There's been some conversations about preparing for that. If it comes to that, we have to do that, which I don't know if you're all familiar with our graduation last year that we held in May Commons.
I wasn't specifically talking about the event.
Oh, okay.
Talking about students' progress towards graduation and whether there's going to be leniency or flexibility in meeting those requirements to.
There's been no conversations from the state of Oregon about continuing to lower the bar. We've had many conversations, I know, at the high school and as a district admin team about a lot of different strategies we could possibly use. Obviously, the high school being earning credit and the number of failing grades that we have at the high school because kids aren't logging in and they're not engaged. Actually, I spent several hours last week with Tom Spoon, the high school admin team, talking about a lot of different strategies we can to help reduce those numbers. Some of them, obviously we had a pause week, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, district-wide, where we had no new content. We spent an entire week trying to get kids caught up on their previous content, conversations with staff about the amount of summit assessments that we have for kids. In other words, Do we have a lot of tests going on? And if we do, and we don't have kids that are engaging, that's really causing kids to fail a lot of classes right now. And so we're having conversations about those and some strategies we can do to hopefully get some of those kids caught up that are struggling. Yeah, we do have a lot of kids that are failing classes. That's a problem nationwide for those kids that aren't in class.
Well, I think I agree with you. If any segment of our population has been significantly harmed more, it's the students missing out on the education opportunities. So if there's anything that the city of Hermiston can continue to do to support you in that, I know we have a Champions program going on up at the EOTech, and hopefully that's been a success and working out okay. But if there's anything else that we can do to support kids and get them back in class, so appreciate it. Any other questions, Mr. Rucker? No. Thank you for
Thank you
being
guys.
here this
Appreciate
evening.
it. Have a good night.
Have a Merry
Holidays.
Christmas. Yep. All right, Mr. Smith, we have a presentation on the City of Hermiston website.
Yeah, so Lily led this task to update our city website, so I'm going to turn the time over to her.
So,
Take it away.
good evening, council. As the staff report stated, earlier this year, IMESD gave us notice that they would no longer be supporting web services for municipalities. So we began a search to find a new website provider. We had RFPs from 3 different website providers and decided to go with Communicode. So this is our current website. I know I've heard from people in this group as well that things are difficult to find. And so one of the first tasks we decided to do was we wanted to make it user-friendly for our constituents as well as our staff to navigate and find things. A lot of questions I got was, where do I find this or where do I find that? And sometimes I had trouble finding things, and it would be things that I put on the website, so I could only understand what it was like for our constituents to find things. So one of the things we wanted to do was make sure that the site was mobile friendly. So currently there's more than 50% of our constituents that look at the website from their mobile devices. So when you're getting all of this information, scroll, it's difficult to find things and narrow things down. So we went with a no scroll design. I'm going to show that to you. This is our new website. So there is literally no scrolling. This is me scrolling. So when you look at it from your mobile device, which will be like this is what you will see. So make a payment. These items on the bottom here are the things that are mostly used or mostly sought after on our website. So we wanted to make sure that when people are using through their mobile device or anywhere, that those things are the first things that they see and they can go through. When you expand out, and you can see it through your desktop, then you'll come to city services, which is city departments, our business tab, community, which has things like about Hermiston, boards and committees, event centers, parks and recreation trails, and then this How Do I button, which lists a lot of things that we don't currently have on our website. One of the things that we were really excited about on our new website was this translation tab. When you click on it, it's been preloaded with the most popular languages in our area, and this is including Portland, Seattle, Spokane area. We tried to include the 3 Guatemalan most frequently spoken languages, which is Mam, Ixil, and Quichua. Unfortunately, Google language support systems do not have those languages, so we're going to continue to monitor it, and when they have that available, then we'll add it, because we know that that's our population is growing in that aspect. One of the really cool things that we liked was this emergency banner. So when there's, right now, all the COVID stuff going on, then you can see this, and when we don't have an emergency, then, or something that we really want to capture our audience, then this will go away. So you click on that, it takes you to, first, all of the local resources that we have for COVID-19. This is updated statistics and from the county's health department and Oregon Health Authority as well as local resources, assistance to pay bills, and they're divided out into what bills they are, as well as the Oregon Worker Relief Fund, all the information for that, and businesses. So one of the things that we noticed is we've been working a lot with the chamber to get this information out to our businesses in town. And while we were making those calls, it was difficult to translate the information to go to this website, go to that website, go to this one, or we would put it on our website, but as more news came on, that information would go down on the scale. So this is all of the information in one area, and they can go, and bam, it's right there, and then when they want to come back, they obviously come back here. So I think this is getting to be really beneficial for our businesses, as well as city operations. When offices are closed to walk-in traffic, when they open back up, then all of that will be listed here, as well as the general COVID information from another site. That's been uploaded on symptoms and testing and vaccines, so, and of course that'll be updated. We can also add emergency banners to each page. So if we go to the police department, they added an emergency banner right here, just letting people know, and then you click on it, there's more information about that they're no longer doing fingerprinting right now. On our current website, the search bar to find something is located all the way at the bottom. So it's frustrating when you are looking for it and you can't find it. So our new website, that's first in front. And then as you saw, once you go onto a different page, it's still there, just moves up so you can easily still see that in search instead of going back and forth. One of the things that we did have on our website, on our current website, was doing business. However, it wasn't very user-friendly. So we've added a new bar under business, and this has a lot of information, including bids and RFPs. We get that information a lot, or those questions, where are your bids, who can I find out who you awarded it to. So once we have that information, it'll be all located in one spot. A lot of other questions we got were businesses coming in. Is there a business license? And so what's the process for a liquor license? So all of the information now is located in one spot so people can see the process for business licenses, fees, same thing with liquor licenses, solicitor's licenses, things like that. As you saw for the liquor license and on a lot of other pages, instead of having to go back and forth and try to find who you need to contact, the contact people or places are located in a couple different spots. On the bottom of the page and then here. So we also have one of the things that we got a lot of complaints about is people couldn't find jobs. So on our current website, does anybody know where jobs is? Did anybody ever look? You know where it's at?
Right next to the email at the very, very bottom.
At the very, very bottom. So if you go all the way down, it's down here. So, it was difficult to find. The same thing with our social media. And if you go to our social media, our Facebook, it takes you right to the cities, which isn't a bad thing, but we thought we could do better. So when you go into our new website, there's a couple of different places where you can find jobs under human resources, and there's a direct link to job opportunities. So it'll take you to the job opportunities that we have in the process. And then there's how do I, and again, job opportunities will take you to the same site. So with our social media, instead of just having that one link that takes you directly to the city's Facebook page, we wanted to show all the different social media sites that we had and a listing of those. So these are all the social Facebook pages that we have. And if you click on any of them, it takes you right to that. And we have a social media hub that shows you, we have all of the accounts for Facebook, for Twitter, for Instagram, and YouTube all in one place. One of the things that we really wanted to focus on as well as in our current website, there isn't a place for forms or either filling them out on our website or printing them off usually. I think the only ones that we kind of really have are, you go in, public records requests is a good example. So customers would have to go in, find what records that they wanted, and then go to, click the link, and then you have your public records request. People would have to usually print that out or save it, fill it out, and then email it back to us. So one of the things that we wanted to focus on was making sure that all of those forms were easily accessible. So under each page, but also under How Do I, there is this document and forms. So forms, we'll just go to forms and applications right now. And these are all the forms, applications, permits that we have, and that they can be easily dwindled down, I guess, by which department you're looking for. The court, actually, I'm going to go to the court. They have done a great job. There's documents and reports. Same thing, here are all the reports, and they can be dwindled down. I go to municipal court, and you can see municipal court has done a really good job of already starting that process. So here, these are requesting an interpreter. So you can submit that online. So you go here, you fill this out, and then submit, and they're done. The ones that they're still working on that aren't being able to be submitted online are the records request form that I just showed you guys. So eventually, all of these forms will be able to be submitted online through every department. And it'll be easy. Right now, what we're doing is mailing things out because people don't want to come in, understandably so. And so this is going to make it a lot easier to do that. One of the things that we focused on as well is going through each department page and making sure that they were the information was easy to access and to find. One of the things, especially right now or earlier this year with elections, people would call and say, I can't find the election information. And it was difficult to find. And I'm sure a couple of our counselors-elect can testify to that. So there was a couple places where you could find it on our current website. If you go to City Reporter, you can find it under elections. However, a lot of people don't know what even a city recorder does, so they have no reason to look at that page. If you go to government under mayor and city council, which would be obvious, you'd go there and look for elections. It's difficult to still find. I'm looking at it, but I'm looking at it, and I don't know how easy you guys can find it, but it's located right here. So on our new website, you can go under city services, city council, and elections are right here. When you go to your page, it'll take you to your page, and it's very easy to find the election information, the ward map, which is another big question I get. Where's the ward map at? What ward am I in? Who's the counselor in my ward? And it goes directly to that ward map. You have your city council goals. very easily to find and access compared to the old site. And still easy to access and see is all of our elected officials, faces. And when you click on one of the counselors, it gives you all your bio. So, sorry, Roy, didn't mean to point you out specifically. Another is our contact us button. So if you go to contact us and our phone numbers, that's really all that comes up. No emails, no specific department heads or staff members that you can contact. So on our new website, our contact us button goes to submit a request, but it has our staff directory. So we've listed each department, the address, phone number, and an email. So there's some like EOTech who we've, instead of an email address, we've listed the website. And it'll take you right to that website once we figure that out. And it goes down the list. Each department has the people that are in that department, their positions, phone numbers, and email addresses. So that's a big thing that I know our constituents will, I think, appreciate. Going back to our old website, when I was talking about being able to find things, one of probably the biggest change for departments itself is our court. So right now, if you go to municipal court on our website, it has very basic information: courtroom etiquette, hours of operation, payment information, public records request, and again, it's very minute. On our new website, the court has really vamped up their page and really wants to engage the public with all of the information that they can on the website. So there's no guessing, there's no calling, there's no coming in, especially with COVID the way it is. This is still a work in progress, so I believe you're going to go to a couple pages and it's going to say it's still under construction. But at least the public knows that we're working on the information and we want to make it easy for them to access all of the information that they want. Another thing that we thought was pretty cool was our Parks and Recreation Department has a very active social media presence, as well as our police department. So one of the things that we've asked them to do is have a live Facebook feed on the site, so people can see directly on the website what's going on. It's kind of a little hidden back here, so we've asked our website developer if they can move all of this information to the right-hand side column right here, so it's kind of front and center. One of the things that we really liked about Unicode is it's pretty easy to use for staff. In our current website, there was only a few of us, a handful of us, who were able to make changes to the website, and things kind of got lost because there wasn't very many of us, and it was easy to forget. So with a new website, there's quite a bit of us who have access and have been trained on the system. So information will be updated regularly, and we just want to really make sure that we're being transparent and the information is easy to access for our public. Did I forget anything, Brandon? Do you guys have any questions?
Good job, Lily, I'm impressed.
Yeah, thank you, Lily. Appreciate all your work, and I'm sure there was some support that was also other staff members.
Yeah, there was quite a bit of city staff, and
Yeah.
we had a great team.
So yeah, I'm sure your team worked hard on this, so good job on putting this together. Looking forward to that updated website. The one question I had was, There's nothing more frustrating than to go to a current, or to a website you feel is current, that isn't current. So who's responsible? Is it Muni Code or the staff in keeping all of that information current and relevant?
Ultimately, it's the city staff.
So is Muni Code just one time they're in and out, or they still offer support?
You know, they still offer support. If there's things that we're having trouble with, then we'll shoot them an email saying, hey, we need to update this, or we need to create a new page, or can you update this for us? And they'll go ahead and do it. But we've asked, there's so many more staff members that are able to do this, so it's easier for us, I think, now that we have that staff support that can do it immediately instead of doing a work ticket or a work order and waiting for them to do it. Usually they're pretty quick to respond, but still, when you have information that you want the public to see immediately, it's better for city staff to do that.
And I don't know how this falls in, Byron, to responsibilities or roles or whatever, but maybe there should be some sort of timeline that is somebody's responsibility that makes sure that this is all current and relevant. Once every 6 months, once a year, whatever, somebody goes through and just refreshes everything. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we can look at that. I don't know that we've set up a specific plan. Each department is going to be responsible for their own, information, and so, but we can set up a plan of how we kind of keep track of that.
I just think it's so important because it's, a lot of times it's the face of the city, especially in the outside world. And so making sure that that's current and relevant is super critical. I'm super excited about the changes in the ease of access and making it mobile friendly. So thank you for that work on it. Any other comments? Roy?
Just a question on, I know we were talking about mobile use. Is there like any app or anything that's going to come out with this, or is that something in the near future that's being considered? I guess, because I feel like that'd be the next thing as well. Is that something that's in the future?
I haven't been in any conversations with that, but I don't know if that's something that's...
A couple of the departments where an app might be, most applicable, like the Parks and Rec Department has looked at it a couple different times, trying to find something that works well for us. So we are actively looking at those. We don't have one selected at this point.
Yeah, I think if I know we're aiming for more ease and access, and I think people just more or less have more apps and spend more time on their phones with apps and playing around with that. I think this is a really great step in what we're doing. I really like the search bar, honestly. I never really used to use the search bar option because it was all the way at the very bottom. But this is very great. I guess just in looking into the future, I was seeing more or less where we're at with that as well.
I would say to kind of that the search request, one of the reasons we did pick Unicode was because they are search optimized with Google. So if you go in and type in Hermiston City Council, it's going to pop up right there with Hermiston City Council. Go to that direct page. You can search for parks and recreation events as well, and that'll be optimized as well. And I think going to your question about apps, the issue with the apps that we had as the Parks and Rec is we needed to get people to download that app. Here with the mobile design website, they can go on just their browser, and it's almost like an app itself. So yes, we are kind of still out there looking at what's the best and easiest to use, but getting people to download those things is the next challenge.
Any other questions? Comments?
It goes active tomorrow?
Tomorrow at 1 p.m.
Perfect. Forward to it. Thank you, William. So, moving on our agenda, we have typically the consent agenda normally after
I
public
did mess up
input?
on that, yes.
Okay.
My apologies.
So now we will open it up for citizen input on non-agenda items. So if there's anyone here wishing to speak to the council and it's not in relationship to our current agenda. We ask that you come up to the microphone up front, introduce yourself by name and address, direct your comments to me, and discussion to not more than 5 minutes. None? Okay. Now on to the consent agenda. Items A through H. Are there any of those that need to be spoken to the council? Is there any public comment on consent agenda items A through H? Okay, can I get a motion to approve consent agenda items A?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Mr. McCarthy, second by Mr. Harden, that we approve consent agenda items A through H. Roll call.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Motion passes unanimously. My microphone's going on.
Yeah, it's baby here.
Okay, I'm trying to talk more directly into it. Thank you. Moving on to ordinances and resolutions. Resolution number 2171, resolution adopting a master fee and charges document. Mr. Smith.
Yeah, so one of the things that we discussed at our last goal setting was to re-examine some of the fees and charges that we utilize at the city. Make sure that they were current, I think was more of the discussion there, but what we found when we started really taking a look at it is that they're scattered all over the place and hard to find not only for staff, but obviously even then for residents and those who might be looking for those services. So staff did research and was able to find that a number of cities tried to put them into one master document, one master place to go look for fees for various services throughout the city. And so over the course of the last, I don't know, probably 6 months, we've been going through all of these and putting them into this master fee schedule. And we are requesting that you adopt those all together. In the document, you'll see that there are some fees that are in red. Those are the new fees or something that might be proposed to be different. And then there's the strike through on those, the changes that we're making or proposing to make in the fee schedule. Most of the fees are not, even those that might have been increased are not large changes, just trying to come up to what we see as kind of the market price for some of those services. Some we've consolidated. For example, in the water department, we used to charge a disconnect and a reconnect fee. Now we're just charging one fee for that. We're calling it a disconnect fee, but it's just one instead of $10 for one, $10 for the other. We're doing $20 for, or $25 for the combined fee. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So if I understand correctly, there wasn't any significant major fee changes. This was more of just a organizational, kind of better formatted form, more consistent, so the staff and the user, the community user can find the fees in one central location versus having to search all over for it.
Correct.
Any other questions by the council? Yes.
So an animal page, is that per year? It says $5, I think it says $5.
Yeah, that I believe it was 3 or 4 years ago, we adopted a lifetime animal license fee.
It doesn't really say that, and what if a dog is found unlicensed? Do we not go into any of that?
Then, if it's, then they would just, there's not a penalty necessarily if they're willing to license the animal right then, or there are some fees for if they, if Pet Rescue keeps them overnight or things like that, so.
So these fees, these $5 fees, then go to Pet Rescue, not to the general, not to the city?
No, they collect them, but they do pay the city, and then we pay them for those for their services.
I think the document needs to be, I didn't see a date it was put together, I didn't see like some kind of clarification, like subject to change, some of these things, or just a little more clarity on when this is all established. Well, actually, no, I'm reading it right now. So, yeah, it has today's date. But I wonder if we should say subject to change or some other language that it's, when this was established.
Okay, we could look at putting something on that front page to say, subject to city council alteration of those fees, just so we can communicate that clearly.
It's a pretty bulky document. Lots of information.
Roy, you have a question?
Yes, I had a question regarding Festival Street and the fees for use. I guess when I was reviewing the sheet, and I guess particularly we're talking about the things in red being the changes. I was wondering if there could be potential for exceptions for nonprofits or for any organizations that wish to have some sort of event on Festival Street. If that'd be something the council could consider.
Yeah, whatever direction the council gives us, we'd be happy to follow. The reasons we, generally that fee is got a kind of a base cost for the work it takes for us to block it off, get it ready, and then take it down again. And so it's not a profit center so much, and so we're trying to keep them as low as possible. But we'd be happy to consider that if the council wanted us to.
To Roy's comment, most of the Festival Street usages typically are nonprofits, I would imagine. And potentially, are there fees in our urban renewal agency fund? I know we allocated some funds for kind of marketing, that sort of stuff, usage for the Festival Street. I don't know if there's any funds still in that allocation.
Yeah, we have budgeted, I believe, $3,000 again this year to kind of help sponsor events. That's more of what we're trying to do, is to encourage events. So those are the dollars that we've set aside for that.
Be interesting to look at what exactly we do spend in utilizing or set up, take down, and over the course of a year, what it would cost if we just offered that to all nonprofits.
I mean, we can try to track it. At $400, that's not much time and equipment before you're going to eat up $400. So, but we can watch that and track it more closely.
Other questions on that?
Just one comment. On page 23, there's a typo on regulations 3. Car placement must be a curb. I think it's supposed to say cart placement must be a curb.
Okay, thank you.
Other comments, Council? Is there any public comment about resolution number 2170? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve resolution 2170 laid upon record?
So moved.
Second.
Then moved by Councilor Davis, second by Councilor Turner, that we approve resolution 2170 laid upon record. Roll call.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Motion passes unanimously. Ridgeway water line replacement contract award, Ms. Schmidt.
Yes, so I'll ask Mr. Morgan to address this.
Mr. Morgan, welcome.
There we go. Can you hear me? Can you hear that?
Barely.
Yes, I'm very happy that this project that we're bringing forward this evening, I'm sure you'll all remember the long, lengthy process that council undertook to develop the capital improvement plan, which ultimately led into our large readjustment of our water and sewer utility rates here over the last couple of years. One of the biggest reasons, justifications for was ultimately going in and rehabilitating and replacing a lot of our really aging infrastructure. And so we took the first couple of years to get caught up on some of the major pumps and motors and that type of stuff that were failing in some of the various components of the water and sewer infrastructure. And so this is really our first wholesale replacement project that specifically targets some of the things that I think most people really focused on, which was the old aging pipes themselves. And so this is our first large project to replace that. It's generally in the vicinity over by Rocky Heights Elementary School, coming down 7th Street to Ridgeway Avenue, and then over, I think, to 6th Street, and then in 6th Street down to Hermiston Avenue near the Catholic Church. So the total project, we did get 5 bidders on the project, which was a good turnout from the bidding community. Obviously, costs have been interesting with the COVID pandemic coming in and causing issue with supply chains, that type of thing. So we gave them a fairly long lead time for being able to complete the project. Ultimately, the project, the apparent low bidder for the project, which we opened after the agenda packet was completed, was Signco Construction, based here out of Hermiston, $357,000, which was only about $7,000 above the engineer's estimates. So we were a little bit concerned that we were going to see some higher prices again because of the steel prices going up across the country. So we're very happy with that. That was the low bidder. Also very nice to see that we had a local company make that low bid. We had some bids coming from Yakima, Silverton, the Dalles, and LaGrange. So good that we had a local company get that first contract for some major water main replacement. Although we don't know for certain on the entire length of the pipe, we feel that the vast majority of that entire length of pipe that we'll be replacing is circa 1920s vintage. So it's nearing 100 years old, and I'm sure we'll see some permeable pipe coming out of the ground when we go to replace that here this spring. So my recommendation would be to award the contract for $357,000 to Signco Construction.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Yeah, it's great to hear, a local contractor get the award as well and come in as a low bidder. This project going to be mutually beneficial also to the construction going on at Rocky Heights in the next year?
Well, so we did reach out to the school district to make sure, we wanted to make sure that they knew that we were going to be doing this project and we kind of coordinate around them. Also, as part of this project, we're talking about the water main itself, but also we're doing an 1.5-inch overlay on a small portion of 7th Street right there next to Rocky Heights, because we don't want to be in there paving or ripping things up when they're actively in school. So this will be nice, and we'll be able to get it done now.
Thank you. Other questions? Okay, it's good to see that capital improvement project come into fruition in our first major water project. So, excellent. How about public comment? Any public comment on Ridgeway Waterline Replacement Contract Award? Seeing none, can I get a motion to award the contract for the West Ridgeway Waterline project to the lowest responsible bidder as recommended by city staff?
So moved. Second.
Been moved by Councilor Primer, seconded by Councilor Barone. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Motion passes unanimously. November 2020 financial report, Mr. Smith.
Yes, Mr. K.
Mr. K, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. We have money now. We've gotten our property taxes collected by and large. Just to give you a peek at what's going on with the Urban Renewal Agency, we project that they'll collect approximately $230,000 in revenue. They're 88% of the way there. I believe we will exceed that number because we did have some properties come on the roll this year that we did not have before. As we always do, we project lower in revenue than we think we're going to get, and possibly higher in expenses than they will be, because we want to be very conservative. The Urban Renewal Agency is in good hands right now. This is a good thing. As you look at the general fund, you will see that we have collected roughly, let me back up. Revenues for this point in time projected to total 8.5 million. They actually are at 8.88 million for the same period. We're basically 3.9% ahead of where we thought we would be in revenue at this point. And again, it's because we have done some things in anticipation of managing our minimum reserve requirement and moving funds into the general fund from enterprise funds to help us meet that need. But we are doing a good job in this period of time with COVID as far as maintaining some of our revenue. Notice the big jump in November. Certainly that's property tax revenue. As we move to the expenses, we had some pent-up demand on things that we just could not put off any further in November. We're actually $178,000 over where I was hoping we would be. We have a continued emphasis on mission-critical spending, no discretionary spending. I would point out that to the general fund departments, we're roughly 13% below projected expenses. That's almost $900,000. They have been towing the line by and large through the first 5 months of the fiscal year. We will continue to be diligent in that effort, but we can't not spend money and stay viable. We got to see something happen longer term. I'm fearful for how long the vaccinations are going to hit to be able to get us back to some sense of normalcy when we have revenue and expenses that are somewhat back to what we had before the COVID incident. So I'm looking forward and very cautiously optimistic at this point. Always want to give credit to those departments that are doing a good job. You will see this month in particular, we have the court is maintaining a good pace of savings, as is the pool, because we didn't open it for a full summer. Certainly we don't have the revenue from the pool operations, but the good thing is we don't have the expenses either. And then always, Chief Hermiston does a great job managing his budget to the penny. I would like for him to give donations of blood to all the other department heads to be able to do the same thing. But right now we are, like I said, $807,000 to the good in savings. I'm very heartened by our efforts, and it will happen through the end of the fiscal year, even into the summer. One more, Mark. There we go. Now we look at where we are in the general fund. Well, I pushed it back, I guess. Right now, we are at 5.778 million, 3 point plus times the minimum reserve policy. We will position ourselves as we get through the end of the year to try to be higher in our general fund balance to carry us through the skinny months. That's going to depend a lot on how quickly people can get vaccinated and normalcy can return to certain operations, especially as we head into the summer months, like with the pool. Those types of things are still a question mark. I don't have any real solid evidence one way or the other that we're going to have good times or bad. I'm just hopeful, planning for the worst and hoping for the best. But right now, obviously this month, we're back in the chips, if you will, but we're going to be very conservative going forward as to how we spend those revenues as we go through these next few months getting into the vaccination season. And there was a typo in your packet. It said 2.09 times the minimum reserve. It's actually 3.09. My fault, I missed it. Then we talk about the utility and street funds. For 5 months, we're in good shape despite a minor variance in HES, the Regional Water Fund. This is very good news because we're able to continue with some of the CIP projects that we have in the budget. Lots of activity here coming up in the coming months. As you heard about Ridgeway being awarded, we got some other things in the pipeline. I'm very heartened that we're doing okay in this regard. And then finally, he's talking about what's going on. We have a lot of projects that are underway from the standpoint of administration. They're doing stuff that's not through construction yet. Those dollars will hit later. But there's the status. Not much to talk about there, just trying to keep you up to date on where some of those projects are. They haven't really kicked off yet because this time of year is not the time you want to be out working on water lines or streets because it's cold and it's not a good time to do that. I would make one mention. In front of you, you have this year's copy of CAFR. It's great reading if you're having trouble reading. But in that document, we have for the 29th year received the GFOA Award for Excellence in Financial Reporting. That's not a bad thing to hang our hat on. I just wanted you all to be aware as a city council, we take this very seriously, that we can present the finances of the city in a very positive way to reflect how we manage the city in your direction. We're very conservative on our expenditures. We're very conservative and we budget. I look forward to our strategic planning session in January to get further direction of where we're headed. And with that, I'd be glad to stand any questions you might have.
Mr. Smith, as we roll into the budget session and season for next year, if I look at our ending fund balance as of June of this year, the end of this fiscal year, we're at $2,072,000. And our minimum reserve is 1.8. That doesn't give us much flexibility between June or the end of June and November. So I'm looking forward to a conversation around how we maintain that throughout those 4 months and what sort of belt tightening we're going to be able to do to make sure that we don't go below that minimum reserve and help us tread the water as we come out of this COVID-19 recession.
Right. I think Mark or Mr. K alluded to that, part of that, and during the next 6 months of our fiscal year, those projections are all straight line projections. We anticipate continuing to have savings as we've accumulated about $1 million so far. And so we're hoping that that will put us in a little better than what's projected. But we are also having discussions about how we're going to handle that going forward, and we'll bring those into the discussion in our budget session and so forth.
There's my understanding too that the city was able to utilize all the CRF funds and we were able to put them to use.
Yes, that's correct. We're making the final expenditures during December. We have until December 30th to make the expenditures. We have cushion to get the reimbursements. I believe it is until February of next year. So
I'm sure that the funds were not sufficient enough to maybe cover all the costs that were expended this year in COVID-19.
No, we would have exceeded our allocation. Probably could have spent another $500,000 in various ways according to the guidelines that we've been given.
I got an email yesterday from County Commissioner Murdoch. He has, up till this point, $750,000 in unencumbered expenses that they'll have to cover out of the general fund budget. So, states and cities, municipal districts, counties and cities, I should say, have been hit particularly hard this year, not just the state, but also local districts. So hopefully when the feds consider some sort of new package, they consider municipal districts in that conversation. Any other questions from the council? No. Okay. Yes.
I guess a question, if I'm reading this correctly, in terms of the projected property tax revenue forecast, what percentage came in at the end? I guess up to date. If I'm reading this right, it's 91.2, is that right?
That's correct.
I would have given you a more current number, but they send us their information as collections in the mail. We usually get it Monday. It didn't show up today, but I truly expect that we will exceed what our budgeted projection is.
That's a good projection as far as our economy and how things are going for our community and paying their bills.
That's correct.
Well, on average, I think.
For this year, I think it's very good. I'm worried about going into fiscal '22. next year. If we don't get back on a track of some type of economic growth, I will be concerned that it will happen a year later. But my tea leaves are as good as anybody else's.
I see, so we did get a good percentage of it back. However, in the grand scheme of things, even though before this COVID crisis hit, we were regularly making a little bit above or having some sort of growth, but because we're at this point, we're gonna have to recover all the growth that we pretty much evaporated during the COVID crisis, is that right?
No, typically, this is about where we would be in the end of November as far as property tax collections. Is that correct?
Yes. It's service revenues where we have had a hole. Park fees, recreation fees, those types of things fell off the table. But the property tax revenue, which is the base for our revenue collection, it's sound. And that will help us in the short term.
I guess that's more or less more of my question was that, like, even though, I guess seeing 91 is not truly 100%, I guess myself thinking that in November, that's when all the property taxes should be in, so that clears up a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, unfortunately, everybody doesn't pay when they're due. So we collect a little bit now every month for the rest of the year.
To be honest, the property taxpayer has a whole year to pay. They get a discount if they pay it in November.
3%.
That's a 3% discount, but they can pay it quarterly or, over time too as well. But most people want that additional discount paid in November. So that is a traditional number, if I remember correctly. So it's good to see that of our economy that we're still paying that bill. So public comment. All right, seeing none, can I get a motion to accept the November 2020 financial report as presented?
So moved. Second.
Been moved by Councilor McCarthy, second by Councilor Harden, that we approve the November 2020 financial report. Roll call.
Yes.
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 Motion passes unanimously, 8-0, or 7-0. City committee and liaison, any reports this evening? Nobody's meeting.
No, sir.
Yeah. No. I don't know that we have a lot of committee meetings this month, do we?
I don't think we have a lot, haven't had a lot this month.
Still have some openings on our committees. If you didn't notice that in our consent agenda, we're still looking for some people to fill out our committee structure. Mayor's report. We had a nice conversation with Representative Smith today. Kind of got an update on where he's at, where the legislator's at, and where the emergency board's at. Still some question up in the air on whether they have another emergency session before the end of the year. And then kind of gave some brief updates on proceeding into the next legislative session. And he's always been a great partner in reaching out. We meet monthly as mayors and managers to talk with Representative Smith, so it's always nice to touch base, hear what else is going on in communities around us. Very active region right now, a lot of growth going on. So it's nice to hear about all of the community successes and also to touch base with Representative Smith. Do you have anything else to add to that? Councilor? Yes. Mr. Yes.
Today is my last meeting, and so first I want to say thank you to the citizens of Hermiston. They voted for me, they put their trust in me to be one of the leaders. And one of my advices for all the city council, the mayor, the city manager, please keep your eyes on the Columbia River water, because we're pumping water into the city Casano Horseshoe. And they try to reach 4 dams on the Snake River. They have succeeded. I know the next be the Columbia River. And if that happens, they will lose the water. This city will die. We go back to be a desert because the water is the life. and has been the life of the city. Please keep your eyes on that. I know it's a lot of working with the federal government, the state of Washington, the state of Oregon, plus the Indian reservations. That was my recommendation for you. Good luck to the new city councils coming in. And thank you.
So Manuel, I was going to do this later, but since it seems appropriate right now, we have a special award for you this evening. And I'd like to honor you with that. It's in grateful appreciation of 15 years of advocacy and dedicated service to the growth and betterment of our city and community. As a city councilor from January 2013 through December 2020, as well as from February 2004 through March of 2008. He's also served on the Hispanic Advisory Committee from 2012 to 2020 and the Budget Committee from 1997 to 1999. I just want to acknowledge Manuel for his leadership. You know, I've looked up to you and your relationships with our Latino community. You've been a strong advocate for our community, not just for Latino residents, but all residents. Always advocating to make sure that we're looking out, especially for the little guy. And I've appreciated your support, I've appreciated your leadership on this council. I've always looked up to your opinion and guidance, and thank you. I think the city of Hermiston thanks you, the citizens of the city of Hermiston thank you for your selfless dedication and service to our community for the last 50 years. So please join me in thanking you. Anybody else want to comment to Mr. Gutierrez?
Job well done, Manuel. We're going to miss you, but you've done a great job.
I'll be around.
We'll have committees for you to be on.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we've got the committees.
Manuel, I do want to say, muchas gracias por tu servicio a nuestra ciudad. Being the only Latino or being the only person of color on this council or just any council in general is a tough thing to do. And so for me, it was really inspirational to see that there is a city council person, a person of color. And honestly, that motivated me to run as soon as I did. Otherwise, I honestly would have felt maybe another time, maybe another year, maybe it wasn't my time. But at any rate, I just want you to know that you've been a great inspiration to the Latino community. Seeing someone in where you're at really makes someone believe that somebody can be there, like myself. And so don't think that you're paving the way for me, you're paving the way for a lot of Latinos, Latinas, people of color. Hopefully for years to come on this council. I'm really excited to have the addition of Maria on this council as well. And I hope that's inspiration for more people of color to run for positions, council positions, leadership positions, because our voices are important and they need to be heard. And I understand it can be difficult being the only person sometimes and feeling the intimidation sometimes of maybe my thoughts don't align with everybody, or maybe my opinions aren't super welcome because there hasn't been a path before. But just know that you being here and making that path inspires me and hopefully many other people of color to come on board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Others? Sure.
One more thing, I want to say thank you to Jason and his department, police department. 2 weeks ago, I called regarding the sign that was right on Forest Street, for the county building, and they put a sign for the veterans. Beautiful sign, but was blocking the view. So I called the Hermiston Police Department, and they take care of that. They went and looked, and they went and advised them. They don't request, they say, it's blocking the view, when they like it, and they moved the sign. So I want to say thank you for the, it was respond right away, and I got this It was on vacation. But thank you, Jason.
Yes.
That brings a good segue into what I had to say. During the last month, I had an unfortunate occasion to be in the services of the Hermiston Police Department a couple of times. And I was impressed by the professionalism displayed by Sergeant Osborne, Corporal Stocco, Chaplain Cummings, Officers Cobian, and Zumwalt. In my finest time of need, the staff of HPD was able to accomplish the tasks they had to do without any issues, and with the compassion and professionalism that can't help but to reflect on the leadership of Chief Hermiston and his command staff. So on behalf of the Perimeter family, thank you so much, sir.
Other council?
The Two Rivers Correctional Institution celebrates their 20-year anniversary this year. There was a planned public celebration, but that canceled.
Yep.
Coin has been given to each of us. So, yay.
Yay. It's 20 years already. It's surprising. It's amazing. They've been a great member of our community and our region. That's part of the reason they aren't. I mean, they didn't come here because I ended up at Two Rivers. But part of the reason I'm here has to do with the Big Four project that happened. And Two Rivers was part of that Big Four project. And to see those projects already celebrating 20 years is just an amazing accomplishment. And so congratulations to Two Rivers on 20 years of having service to our community. Sorry they can't have a big celebratory. This is supposed to be the 2020, this is the year of the eye doctor, right? Yeah, we can't celebrate that. When are we ever going to be able to celebrate that again? Ever?
My first council meeting, you made a pun. My last council meeting.
Let's keep it light. Other council reports. Yes, sir, Mr. Brown.
I do have a comment, and it was actually when we were discussing with Mr. Usher when we were talking about schools. I didn't necessarily have any questions, but I really did have a comment. Just regarding how difficult this is, especially for our students. What we're asking our students is essentially to go through college right away. We're asking them to have the personal responsibility and the self-discipline to do all of this by themselves. And it's extremely hard, even if you have a really great kid. Sometimes they need an adult there, they need a leader there, they need somebody to help them on the way. I feel really badly for a lot of the parents that, it's a two-person household, both of them working, kids gotta do it. Sometimes it's the oldest kid that's being the parent in that household, and it's very difficult. One of the things I've really enjoyed during this pandemic, though, is being able to somewhat connect with our kids and giving them prizes once a week to up the motivation. Prize if they came to class, if they participated, and it really makes you see Hermiston, more of Hermiston, more of the neighborhoods, and seeing a lot of the conditions that these kids are doing their schoolwork in. A lot of the conditions that maybe it's really cold in their home, or maybe they just don't have the best connection, or they just live in a really rough part of the neighborhood. And it makes me, and I guess the work that we do here that much more inspirational, because I feel like we can do a lot and bring more to this city than where we're at now. We're constantly moving and trying to improve and do better for our citizens, and it inspires me to see the things that we can do. It inspires me to see how our kids, even though this is a really hard time, how some of them are really succeeding in some of this distance learning. Even though I've seen some kids struggle, I've seen some kids that in the classroom, when they were having a hard time, actually do better distance learning. And so there are the pros and the cons. We talked about even Neotech, where we had to change things up operationally, but in it creates a little bit more opportunities to do different things. And so I guess when there's difficulty, it makes people have to innovate. whenever there's been difficulty economically, depression-wise, Americans have been innovative. They've created and found ways to succeed. And so I hope that for all the parents out there, don't give up, keep working hard, realize that we're there to support you as teachers, we're there to support you as a community, we're here to support you. And just to keep on going. And for those students, know that your work is appreciated. And I know that it's a difficult environment to be able to do all this stuff. But I really just appreciate the school district coming down and being able to talk to us about what's going on. Because I feel like parents might have an idea of what's going on, but hearing it from a teacher's perspective sometimes, or from someone within the school, it is a little bit different. And so I just really wanted to say that piece about the school. And then hopefully, I guess going along with state councils and what the mayor was saying about state and local funds, we're hoping that we continue to receive or try to receive state and local funds from our federal government. I know there's been a stimulus bill that's been talked about. I know that it got put on pause specifically because of the state and local funds. So hopefully Congress gets their act together, actually passes something for state and local government, because that's helping cities, that's helping counties where the need really is at. So.
Councilor? Yeah.
Our tree is lit, and I was there, and I think I saw maybe somebody else there. I know Santa was there. And that was fun. I know we had, I think Brandon did handle the live stream. I think we had somewhere in the vicinity of 900 plus views during that live event. We ended it with a little story time, and that was very good. Speaking of Christmas, if people are looking for an activity, if you haven't been up to EOTech for the Festival of Lights, that is also, it's a suggested donation, but it's technically free. You can drive through there with your lights off if you want to. It's bright enough to get through there, so that's something out there. One thing I thought of, I'm circling back a little bit to the website function, but I had this thought after we moved on about the app function. Some websites that I frequent do not have app functions, but they have a suggested add this website to your home screen with instructions on how to do that for both iOS and Android devices, which would add basically a shortcut on your phone's home screen directly to the website in your browser of choice. For example, my phone uses Chrome. I would add that to my home screen, and it would just automatically populate. So if it's one I use frequently, it would just stay there. That might be something to explore, because the website would already be mobile responsive. So that's just one thing I wanted to contribute. That's an idea.
Thank you. Others?
I'd just like to thank the citizens with all the displays that we have in town. I think people have went out and put on a happy face, basically, in spite of what's going on. So I think it's great to be able to just drive around and see different displays.
Not a lot of screws.
No.
It's good to see some happy houses out there and some happy families. I guess maybe I'd ask Chief Hermiston maybe give us kind of an update on Christmas Express and how that program is going.
Ultimately, we ended up, the canned food drive ended up collecting about 90% of what we normally collect. So I'm very happy about that. This area will look dramatically different, possibly even tonight. Officer Myers and I are kind of itching to get it set up, so we may be down here tonight moving things around. Name submissions are down about 20% this year, which is a little bit alarming, and I don't want to sling mud, but it kind of goes to Councilor Harden's question earlier, and this is not related to the school district by any means, but one particular incredibly large state agency submitted 18 names, which is quite low, considering normally they give us about 200 names. So, you know, that's a clear sign to me that there's a lot of things going unchecked out there because of kids not being in school. But names are down 20%. It's still okay because what we don't hand out sits on the shelves at the Agape House, helps them in January, possibly even into February with getting food to where food needs to go. On the bright side, our monetary donations are up 40%. Last year, as an example, we had 17 total donors. This year, we're at 32. A lot of names that people that I know have, even since I'm born and raised here, but have never donated before. And so, to Councilor Hardin's point about kind of the Christmas spirit that's out there, it shows with the monetary donations as well.
So as far as process goes, we pack in boxes on Wednesday night, timeline. Can you go through that with us? And then when will these be handed out?
So the event Wednesday night's not a public event. Obviously, we need to be very cognizant of physical distancing, and so there's going to be an 80-foot conveyor line right down the middle of the aisle here, where the mayor's sitting. We're slated to start at 5:30. I put an email out today to city employees saying if they wanted to show up at 2 o'clock, if they were maybe had the day off and their family wanted to come down. But basically, we're going to have 8 stations for the different kinds of foods that go into the boxes, and then additional stations at the front end of the line. So at any given time, 10 family units could be working to build the boxes. So we'll do that Wednesday night. Thursday, we will deliver everything to the Agape House, and then I think their schedule is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. They'll be handing them out. We started phone calls today. Our staff will be doing that tomorrow, probably up until Friday.
Perfect. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate your leadership. No surprise that this community stepped up, and it's been a challenging year. A lot of our, if you're not aware of the Christmas Express program, a lot of our canned food drive comes from the students in the classrooms. They bring their canned foods to the school participates and collects all that, and then it all gets collected at the end of the year. And there's participation awards, there's competitions involved, and kids kind of rally around that. Couldn't do that this year. And so I think as of Monday of last week, we were 20% of what we were a year ago. So for us to get from 20% to closing the gap to 90% is a great accomplishment in a week's period of time. So not surprised by our community that they stepped up and made the donations. Also not surprised that they stepped up and made the financial donations to help get that over the top. They realize the value that provides to those 500 families in our community, and weren't going to let that project go without its full funding and support this year. So congratulations to our community and people for stepping up and doing that. As to that,
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
If I could just give a huge shout out to Mr. Usher and the other Tom Spoo, principal at the high school. I can't remember what night it was because all my nights are flowing together. I think it was last Thursday night. We did a drive with high school teachers. I'm sure there was teachers from other buildings there as well, but a heck of a turnout. Had quite a few students come, and from what I was hearing from some of the teachers, other than virtually, that's the first time they've had some sort of interaction, and even amongst the teachers. Interacting with each other. So Thursday night was a huge night. Really helped us get up to that 90 percentile.
Great. One of the other things that has been challenging this year is our small businesses have been significantly impacted. If you aren't done doing your Christmas shopping, and you're like me and you wait till last week, please spend your dollars in your local community. It might cost you a couple extra dollars, but that couple extra dollars is going to be spent back in your community. And your kids' soccer team next year, the t-ball team, high school athletic programs are all funded by your local businesses. We have to support them. We have to stand behind them. They need your support now more than ever, especially our restaurants. My wife and I have made it our responsibility that I get to cook 3 or 4 nights a week, and so we go out and I order from different restaurants 3 nights a week, and those people are hurting badly right now, and we need them to survive. We want choices afterwards. You know, I think that's our #1 complaint that we hear from our constituents is the amount of restaurant choices we have here. Why can't we get more restaurants? Well, let's support the ones we have. We don't need to lose any more. So make sure you're supporting your local businesses. And if you were fortunate enough to have survived this year financially sound, and you can spare some extra money, support your local agencies. They're going above and beyond this year and helping to support our most vulnerable population. So please, again, terms have never surprised me in their giving. I'm just going to ask that maybe you give a little more this year. So that's all I have. Mr. Smith?
Yes, thank you. I want to start out by thanking Councilor Gutierrez for the opportunity to work with him, and appreciate your leadership in our community, and I think that it's been a great pleasure to work with you. A couple of updates. Just wanted to let the council know our Vision Hermiston 2040 steering committee. I'm actively inviting members to be involved in that committee, and waiting to hear back from those who've been invited. So we should be ready to have the initial meeting of that group in January. So an update on the library. Due to some challenges getting materials, it looks like mid-February is our completion date, because some of the materials had a longer lead time due to COVID and other factors. So, but they're still actively working and keeping the project moving. There are just going to be a couple of key materials like ceramic tile in the bathroom that we have to wait on. So. Then on the City Hall project, we will be putting that out to bid to the contractors next week, with the opening of the bids to be in kind of late January 20th or 21st is the dates we're shooting for. So that will be out and available for contractors to begin studying and putting together their bid. And that's all that I have.
Mr. Smith, I see a lot of work going on over at Funland and the Funland Park project. I know that our Parks and Rec crew, most of them are the ones that are actually doing the installation. What's the progress status on that, and when can we see potential planned opening of that in the spring?
Yeah, we haven't set a date yet on the opening, but we're making good progress getting kind of the hard pieces set. When the weather allows, concrete, pouring, and other things, we're doing all that we can. It really is going to be the temperature that's going to be the determining factor with the play surface that we're going to be using. It needs to be installed in a warm temperature. And so shooting for as early as we can, but we need to kind of watch how the spring unfolds.
All the pieces and parts come together for that?
I believe we have all parts. I'm not 100%. I know we have a number of the large fruits and vegetable pieces. They're waiting out at the Public Works yard, and so I think we do have all the parts.
Yeah, a great community celebration piece. It's done. I believe it's been 2 years this spring.
Right.
Of course, this is the longest, shortest year ever. So. All right. Yeah. Nothing else?
That's it, thank you.
Okay. Lily, you want to walk me through how this is going to go? Lily is going to do our oath of office this evening, and we are going to swear in early the winners of the elections for the spring and the fall elections, and that way they can take office officially on January 1st.
Correct.
So as far as the process goes, you want to explain that?
Sure, we'll ask our municipal court judge to come to the front and I'll administer the oath of office when he's done. He can be seated. After that, you'll go, you can stand at your seat.
Okay.
And then we'll have all of our newly elected and our current counselors come to the front and they'll be sworn in. And after each oath of office administered, I'll ask every elected official to sign their oath of office at that time and I'll collect them.
Perfect. Mr. Creasy?
Yes. So you can choose to hold that up and follow along. So can you raise your right hand and repeat after me, please? I state your name, do solemnly affirm
I, Thomas J. Creasy, do solemnly affirm
that I am duly qualified to hold the office
that I am duly qualified to hold the office
of municipal court judge for
of
the city
municipal
of
court
Hermiston.
judge
For the city of Hermiston.
for the city of Hermiston,
That I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United
the
States,
Constitution of the state of Oregon,
the Constitution of the state of Oregon,
and this charter of the city of Hermiston,
and the charter of the city of Hermiston,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of my office to the best of my ability.
the duties of my office to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Your document. I state your name, do solemnly affirm
I, Dave Druckmann, do solemnly affirm
that I am duly qualified to hold the office
that I'm duly qualified to hold the office
of mayor for the city of Hermiston.
of mayor for the city of Hermiston.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States,
That I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the state of Oregon,
the Constitution of the state of Oregon,
and the charter of the city of
and
Hermiston.
the charter of the city of Hermiston.
And that I will faithfully discharge
And that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of my office to the best of my abilities.
the duty of the offices to the best of my abilities.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Councilors and the newly elected councilors to the front, please. Councilor Sommer and Councilor Carter, if you want to step over there, please, we can see you. Can you all raise your right hand and repeat after me? I state your name, do solemnly affirm that I am duly qualified to hold the office
That I am duly qualified to hold the office
of city councilor for the city of Hermiston.
of city councilor for the city of Hermiston.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States,
That I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the state of Oregon,
the Constitution of the state of Oregon,
and the charter of the city of Hermiston.
and the charter of the city of Hermiston.
And that I will faithfully discharge
And that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of my office to the best of my ability.
the duties of my office to the best of my abilities.
Congratulations.
congratulations to Judge Creasing, our current counselors, Counselor Primer and Counselor Harden, as well as our newly elected counselors, Maria Duran, Nancy Peterson, and Philip Spicer-Coon. We look forward to working with you, continuing our goals and priorities of creating a safer and more livable community. I will offer up, as I offered up to all of the counselors before, that at any time, if you would like to meet and talk and discuss where we've been and where we're going, and I would offer up my personal contact, and anytime you need guidance or questions or support, I offer up that support with me personally, as well as I'm sure the rest of our counselors would offer that as well. So welcome, congratulations, we look forward to working with you. So we are going to have a small little reception afterwards, and I believe we have something. Yes? Some amazing cookies from Sugar Shack. Sugar Shack. I've seen pictures of these. They are amazing looking cookies. So please join us afterwards. Anything else, Ms. Schmidt? Okay, we are adjourned.
Obedience.